And welcome to this special broadcast of the Buck Stops Here. Remember, the Buck Stops Here in election season is now firmly outside the studio and on the road. We're traveling on the road to 2014, broadcasting to you live at 9 p.m. every night from a different location, bringing you ground reports from the constituency, voices that you do not get to hear in Delhi, animated political voices as we travel through India's political heartland. Tonight, we are broadcasting to you live from Lucknow. If Benaras has become the epicenter of the campaign, well, this is the capital of Uttar Pradesh and very much the state through which the road has to be taken to New Delhi for whichever parties aiming at the next government. The BJP especially has got its eye on the ball for Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. But on the program today, we'll be asking in Lucknow, which of course is Vajpayee's old seat, we'll be debating Advani's legacy. With the latest drama over where LK Advani should contest from, is the truce between LK Advani and Narendra Modi strictly temporary? And is Advani somebody who has ended up embarrassing himself or his party? Some historical irony to be debating Advani in Vajpayee's old seat Lucknow, from where we're broadcasting tonight. Before we introduce all our guests who are joining us from Delhi, let's introduce our guests from Lucknow tonight. With me is Atul Chandra, senior journalist, somebody who knows Uttar Pradesh and its politics really well. Also with me is Chandrasekhar Verma. He's of course the grandson of famous Hindi poet Bhagwati Charan Verma, and of course also an author and a communication specialist in his own right. Now remember, coming up on the program later, our special ground report on the Muslim vote in Benaras. Among other voices in that report tonight, Ustad Bismillah Khan's family on why music will always unite, even if politics has the capacity to divide. Will it be tradition or polarization in Benaras? That will be our special report coming up later on the Buck Stops Here. बिस्मिल्लाह खान की जो को कहा जाता था बिस्मिल्लाह ऑफ बनारस, और इसी एक डिस्क्रिप्शन में पूरा जो इंडिया के एक प्लूरलिज्म है कि भाई कितने धर्म एक साथ रह सकते हैं, तो आप तो उनके बेटे हैं, उन्होंने क्या आपको सिखाया गंगा जमुना तहसीब के बारे में?
कभी ऐसा कोई भी माहौल बने तो उसको खूबसूरती से ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करना, और जो लोग ऐसा करें तो उनको समझाना कि देखो भैया, तुम लाख लड़ाई झगड़ा करो, 2 राग सीख लो, 200 ताल सीख लो, सारा लड़ाई झगड़ा खत्म हो जाएगा.
All right, from Lucknow tonight, broadcasting live as the Buck Stops Here hits the road in Vajpayee's old seat, debating LK Advani. LK Advani has finally said yes to Gandhinagar. This after Rajnath Singh, the party president, gave him the option to say no. What's really going on behind the scenes? Is the sulking patriarch exposing the fault lines in the Parivar? And with LK Advani opting for Gandhinagar, is it clear that Narendra Modi has prevailed once again, or is this only a temporary truce? Let's go straight across to my colleague Rahul Srivastav. Rahul, there's never a dull moment, as you've been saying for the last 48 hours at the BJP headquarters. That's where all the action seems to be. What do we make of Mr. Advani's ascent to Gandhinagar? Obviously, a compromise was worked out behind the scenes. The RSS has been working the phone lines. He's only said his yes to Gandhinagar after being allowed to say no.
Barkha, I spoke to a senior BJP leader, and eventually what we summarized is that it seems that Mr. LK Advani's policy since June 9th, when Mr. Modi was anointed as the campaign chief for the BJP, then when he was anointed the prime ministerial candidate, I think the policy now is shoot and scoot. What he does, he creates some kind of an issue. He gets the focus on himself. I think there is this battle, as you were talking about, that this is not just a one-off thing. It's more of a symptom over one issue. LK Advani is a sitting member of parliament for the last 5 terms from Gandhinagar. In the last 2 months, he has spoken twice how he wants to contest from Gandhinagar. It is just in the last 3 days he expressed his desire to the party president that he wants to contest from Bhopal. The Bhopal unit of the BJP or the Madhya Pradesh unit has not recommended Mr. LK Advani's name from Bhopal. Difficult for them because he is a sitting member of parliament from Gandhinagar. He insisted because the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister had invited him to contest from Bhopal. After this sequence of event, the BJP went into a tizzy. The BJP's top two, Rajnath Singh and Narendra Modi, they sat in the parliamentary board with other leaders, decided that they will impress upon Mr. Advani to contest from Gandhinagar. The Central Election Committee eventually endorsed the decision. His name appeared in the released list of candidates from Gandhinagar. Late night when Nitin Gadkari and Sushma Swaraj went to meet him, he was clear he wants only Bhopal. He told them, my first choice is Bhopal. After that started a new series of meetings. Mr. Modi met RSS. RSS chief was not happy that when Mr. Advani had already said he wants Bhopal, why is it that his wish and desire was steamrolled, the manner in which the decision was taken. Today morning, Narendra Modi, Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj, Venkaiah Naidu met him. The RSS intervened. The RSS chief called up LK Advani. The RSS chief called up Rajnath Singh. The deputy got into the action. Eventually, when Rajnath Singh had landed sometime in the afternoon in Chennai, the call came and eventually it was decided that they will patch up. And after that, the modalities were being worked out. Rajnath Singh then extended the olive branch and told the media that Advani ji is free to decide wherever he wants to contest from. I think it's largely a battle, not over one seat, few seats, who contests from where or who controls the party now. I think that emerging divide in the BJP is more over who gets to benefit once Narendra Modi gets the right numbers and becomes Prime Minister, and perhaps the other side is the people who are perhaps waiting for not the right numbers for Narendra Modi and the scenario which will unfold after that. And that is why the BJP is extremely wary. And one element, Barkha, which I like to point out here is that over the last 6 months, every time the top BJP leadership has gotten together for a meeting in Delhi, is it a strange coincidence or is it some kind of an activity that the RSS is monitoring? Because every time the BJP meets, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat is in Delhi. And it's more than often now that Mr. Mohan Bhagwat has to intervene in the BJP's affairs. Eventually, it seems that the RSS is putting a now or never kind of effort, and there is infighting in the BJP. And that's why people are saying that this is something which is likely to happen again and again, till the final vote is cast and till the final verdict is out.
Well, fascinating details there, Rahul, and you seem to be suggesting that the last word yet has not been spoken, that this truce that has been sounded today may be only temporary. Is LK Advani actually fighting over the shoulder of other leaders like Sushma Swaraj, like Shivraj Singh Chauhan? Remember, he wanted to move to Bhopal. He's now settled for Gandhinagar. From Lucknow tonight, we're looking...
Forget, Barkha, the
this is,
Rajasthan
of course,
Royals.
Vajpayee's old seat. Yes. Not to forget the Rajasthan Royals. Jaswant Singh, we haven't spoken about him. Rahul, I'm going to ask you to stay with us. We'll come back to you for a perspective on Jaswant Singh and whether he's sulking as well. But what happens in a parivar when its patriarchs begin to sulk? Does that cast a shadow over the BJP's Mission 272? What does it do to the cadre? It's very interesting to be talking about this, especially since we are in Lucknow, which of course is the heart of Uttar Pradesh, the heart of India's politics, as it were, and of course Atal Bihari Vajpayee's old seat. Let's introduce our guest tonight. We're joined, of course, by Abhishek Singhvi of the Congress Party. We're joined by well-known commentator Swapan Das Gupta, senior journalist. We're also joined by Sudhindra Kulkarni. He was an aide of LK Advani's. He's no longer, of course, associated with the BJP. And I'm told Nirmala Sitharaman of the BJP will be joining us any moment as well. With me here in Lucknow, we have Atul Chandra, senior journalist, and of course we have Chandrasekhar Verma, well-known author and writer as well. Before I get the politicians in, let me ask Swapan for a perspective. Swapan, has LK Advani embarrassed himself or has he embarrassed the BJP or both? And is this evidence that the fault lines can be wrenched open again and again and again, that every time there's a big moment, especially for Narendra Modi, last time it was when he was going to be announced the head of the campaign committee, this time it was when his Vadodara seat was announced, every time LK Advani comes and changes the headlines. Who is he embarrassing, himself or the party?
Well, Barkha, although I hate to say it, but this seems to be the most prolonged fade out in political history. Mr. Advani, as you rightly mentioned, has been doing it in installments, and with each installment, his equity, unfortunately, has been shrinking. I think it was quite clear right in June and reiterated again in September that Mr. Advani should take on the role of a patriarch, should take on the role of the senior elder statesman. But somehow or the other, Mr. Advani appears not to have reconciled himself to that role. But what is making it tragic is that today Mr. Advani is certainly firing from the shoulders of various leaders. But unfortunately, he is firing blanks, because the effectiveness of his shots are not resonating within the rank and file of the BJP, who are increasingly seeing him as a rather pathetic, if not a very irritating figure. I know these are very cruel things to say about a man who contributed enormously, in fact, seminal contribution to the BJP. But I think when someone is unaware of his own obsolescence, I think certain harshness needs to be said. And I think the BJP has gone out of its way to ensure that the basic maryada of Advani ji is protected. But I don't think, in a lot of ways, Mr. Advani has reciprocated those sentiments.
But Swapan, may I ask you, before I open up the panel, you say that he cuts a sorry figure today, a pathetic figure almost, and he's shooting blanks. The question, however, that emerges is, are other people shooting from Advani's shoulder? Are there other leaders in the BJP? He seemed to be close to Sushma Swaraj. He seemed to be aligning himself with Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Nitin Gadkari, the former president, has been playing mediator. Is there a different kind of silent power tussle that's still going on in the party, perhaps nervous about Mr. Modi's, in a sense, unilateral popularity with the cadre?
Well, I think you've answered the question yourself. I think what we have is a strange situation where Mr. Modi is the clear favorite among the committed BJP. He's the clear and almost the unanimous choice of those who are BJP minded amongst the voters. But there are people within the BJP, certainly, who don't appear to have accepted the meteoric rise of Narendra Modi from being the chief minister to becoming the prime minister designate of the BJP and perhaps a potential winner in the Lok Sabha election. Now, a lot of these disgruntlement, a lot of this resentment are being played out in a normal sort of way. But I don't think that's very, very important, because at the end of the day, even the MPs who are choosing their tickets, who are getting their tickets, who are fighting, etc., know that their success, if the success has to come about, is going to come about purely because of the momentum Narendra Modi has generated in the country. He has well and truly made it a presidential election. Now, the only way that can be punctured is if Mr. Modi makes errors himself, scores self-goals. But that, unfortunately for him and unfortunately for a lot of the others, has not happened.
Okay, let me bring in Sudhindra Kulkarni and then I'll open it up to the Congress and the BJP. Sudhindra Kulkarni, there is that oft-quoted piece of yours. It's now been quoted so often that it's you know, I'm sure all of us know it by heart. That piece where you said that Modi, without naming him, you said Modi was the autocrat and LK Advani was the true democrat. Do you not think that that there's now a sense of deja vu to the Advani sulking and being cajoled to accept the party line story, that instead of looking like a democrat, he's beginning to look like a spoilt child, a petulant patriarch?
Barkha, the crisis has blown over, but this crisis needn't have erupted at all. And Advani ji, it hasn't done any good to Advani ji's own image, reputation. He's standing in the party and he's standing in the political establishment as a whole. I think he shouldn't get embroiled in such situations. It has hurt him and it has also hurt the party, because what is coming across again and again is that even on small issues, the RSS has to intervene and resolve in some way or the other. The question that comes up in people's minds, and I'm speaking as an outsider, is if the RSS has to mediate even on small issues like today's, what will happen when there are bigger issues that become contentious, when there's a BJP-led government at the center? So this is not doing any good to the BJP, and I must say it's not doing any good to even Advaniji's own image.
As somebody who's been close to Advaniji and spoken out very often in his on his side in the past, what do you think he should have done instead, Sudhindra?
No, I really don't know the circumstances that led to the crisis and the manner in which it has been sort of resolved. But the decision-making process at the top level in the BJP does not inspire confidence. It must demonstrate a certain cohesiveness, that it is capable of resolving issues, tackling issues smoothly and with broad unanimity. If this doesn't happen, the BJP's chances would certainly be affected. You know, all the polls so far show that the BJP is going to form the next government as the leader of a coalition, but it puts a question mark on the stability of the next government.
Okay, you're actually saying that these fault lines are serious. The BJP needs to take them seriously. Let me take this to Nirmala Sitharaman and Abhishek Singhvi. Nirmala Sitharaman, 2 points being made here. Swapan Das Gupta says LK Advani cuts a pathetic figure. For people who are watching this, there's a sense of a repetitive drama here. He sulks. You cajole him. The suggestion is the RSS intervenes through the back channels. There are mediations that goes on. Is this really demoralizing for the BJP at this point? And what do you say about the criticism or the critique that's come from Sudhindra that this shows the level to which the RSS is having to micromanage even small disputes in the BJP?
Actually, as reported in the press, what was the micromanagement that the RSS engaged in? I don't think I am aware of any. On the contrary, Advaniji is a very senior member, and I don't need to say this well-known fact that in the Indian political spectrum today, no party has the advantage of a leader who's been in politics for over 60 years. And we have always, I mean, the party is, with his, direction, leadership, call it what you want, he's been the pillar of the party. And at no point in time, the party or its leaders...
Weren't you embarrassed by his sulk again? Weren't you, ma'am, embarrassed by what happened yesterday? You do a press conference, you make a decision, and immediately Mr. Advani actually changes the headlines of that story.
Changes the headlines? If headlines are imposed on a political process, you can't hold anybody from the BJP responsible for that. Certainly, consultations happened. If there are issues on which anyone in the party had a different view, particularly if Advaniji had a different view, leadership would talk about it. In BJP, it's fairly a transparent process. Sometimes many people have observed that it is excessively transparent, unlike many other parties. So I'm quite willing to accept this as a part of the democratic process in the party, where decision making is, constantly, discussed. There are differences sorted out and so on. It is certainly a process within the party. And if this acquired headlines, very well, so be it. But the fact remains, we are the party who deal with it. We deal with it internally. Sometimes, of course, stories come out. Media observes it, and never mind. We sort it out from the point of view of manao our elders. Go appeal to them, talk to them, and take them on board. Eventually, sort the problem in the house. It is a typical Indian way of dealing with it. Nothing is so cut and dry. And therefore, I don't see it as a negative against us. Indian on the contrary, we are not... Yes, it is part of our culture, isn't it? That in a family, if there are differences of opinion, we do sit and talk, try to appeal, try to convince, This is eventually the process of decision making, and
are
therefore
you
the important thing is we don't reject.
Are you suggesting the Congress? I was just going to ask, are you suggesting that the Congress resolves its differences in an un-Indian way? I'm just picking up from your suggestion that the BJP resolves its differences in an Indian way. So is the insinuation that the Congress does it in an un-Indian way?
You in the media, you have every liberty to give it the spin you want.
Okay. Abhishek Singhvi, the important question for the Congress is little bit of minor gloating, little bit of artificial solidarity with LK Advani, who used to be the big hardliner for the Congress. Suddenly the Congress and other parties like the JDU very worried about LK Advani. Does the BJP have a point that whatever drama happens in the BJP, it's a lot healthier, even when there's bloodletting, it's a lot healthier than the Congress where there's still a high command?
Barkha, I appear to be the only genuine outsider in this group of 4 which you have designed. 3 are present, former or other forms of insiders.
Sudhindra says he's an outsider. Sudhindra Kulkarni is an outsider. Swapna Gupta is not a party member.
No, that's all right. I have no problem. Let me start. Yes, we know all the technicalities and you made all the technicalities clear. Let me start by saying that you'll allow the outsider, the genuine outsider, to make a few comments. I am not the least concerned about the internal decision making of the party, which Nirmala ji has now painted in such a nice family light to be hunky-dory and painted it as a very nice convivial disagreement sorted out within a family. What we are concerned about is a lot of the principles and reflections arising from this, and if this is easy to dismiss as a contrast with the Congress lack of democracy, then I think the BJP is living in a fool's paradise. I'd rather not have the chaos and the utter anarchy which you are seeing now for the nth time than to call Congress a lack of a democratic party or a non-democratic party. Now, the first thing it shows, Barkha, for an outsider, for the nation, is that complete trust deficit, a trust deficit which is going to be much more difficult to bridge than India's fiscal deficit, which by the way is improving all the time.
Trust
in the last
deficit
2
with
months
who, Abhishek? No, what does this phrase mean, Abhishek? Trust deficit with who?
Trust deficit within the BJP. Can I just complete? You'll get all the answers. You'll get all the answers, Barkha, I assure you. Trust deficit within the BJP as a party. Trust deficit within the leadership of the BJP. If the top leadership of the BJP cannot trust Mr. Modi, and if several other aspects of the leadership of the BJP as reflected in their parliamentary party cannot trust either on one side Mr. Advani or Mr. Modi, then how do you expect the nation to trust Mr. Modi? Number 2, there is clear evidence since yesterday and before that a person who was quite keen on Gandhinagar has developed over the last few weeks reliable source information that his Gandhinagar election may well be sabotaged by the dictator of Gujarat. And therefore he wanted very much to consider Bhopal. Is there a minor trust deficit that you are scared as the former president of the BJP that the future prime ministerial candidate of the BJP will sabotage your Gandhinagar election? I think the kind of reasons we've seen in the last 24 hours that our leaders in the BJP do not sit in on the meeting which decides their own candidature were almost farcical. You heard reasons which were contrary to what Mr. Modi did when his seat was announced, Mr. Rajnath Singh. And I think it's very important that Mr. Advani was trying to also make a statement about the suitability of other people in the BJP who should be leading the BJP. He had said earlier when Mr. Modi fought almost a 3-month battle to emerge as the BJP candidate, he had said that Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan might be a better candidate, and he therefore now proclaims Bhopal as a Shivraj Singh Chauhan destination.
1 minute.
So I think there is a lot here which can't be dismissed merely as a Congress, don't dismiss it as a mere Congress imagination. You can ignore the Congress. These are facts which will stay with the country and within the BJP.
Nirmala, very quick response because I've got guests here I want to talk to in Lucknow. So very quickly.
I understand.
Yes.
I fully understand, but it is critical to the debate, so allow me. Very quickly. I thought there was at least a pretense of good language, decency and not name calling, especially since after Rahul Gandhi has pulled up all his party men to, speak with decorum. Here we find even a learned Dr. Singhvi using phrases like dictator of Gujarat. Thank you very much. This country's dictatorship's understanding is Mrs. Indira Gandhi during emergency. Even worse, the kind of lecture that I'm getting on dealing with my party seniors, if only they recall Mrs. Sonia Gandhi locking up Sitaram Kesari in the bathroom, would they ever have a, nerve in the tongue to talk about it? I'm sorry. I think the Congress party should get back to introspecting on dealing with elders in the party rather than look at as an outsider, even as an outsider, to talk about BJP way of handling its senior leadership.
Okay. Okay, before I come back to Swapan and
Barkha.
Sudhindra from Lucknow.
Barkha.
Yeah, yes, Abhishek.
No,
yes,
Barkha, one second,
okay, Abhishek,
one second.
yes.
I think Miss Nirmala,
Okay,
Barkha,
okay.
half a second. Barkha, half a second.
Okay. Okay.
I think Nirmala ji's anger and ire should be directed first at Mr. Swapan Das Gupta, who has used language much
Why at
worse
him?
for the so-called elders in the family. Why is she attacking the Congress? Pathetic.
No,
bad,
I've explained my reason for
firing
it.
blanks. Secondly, she should reread history. She should reread history. Where does she get this lovely anecdote
Why, wasn't
about
it the bathroom?
Sitaram Kesari being locked
Was
up? I
it the
don't know.
storeroom?
But I think everybody who knows contemporary India knows who is the dictator in Gujarat, who has acted in the way unilaterally in Gujarat, and who has marginalized whom in Gujarat. So all people know about the word dictator.
Can I bring in
Swapan?
Swapan? Can I bring in Swapan briefly?
It's a very mild
Okay,
word
Abhishek, you made
compared
your
to
point,
what
I
the
think.
words you heard just now
Abhishek and Nirmala.
about Mr. Modi, about
Okay,
Mr. Advani.
Okay, let me on that note. Let me actually bring in Swapan and then we'll go to Atul and Chandrasekhar here. Swapan, just briefly, do you believe that the BJP rationalization, or the official narrative that you're hearing is actually a narrative that will work in the long term? Or do you believe that the rupture within is serious enough for even Sudhindra Kulkarni to say today that Mr. Advani is actually doing no service to himself by doing this over and over again?
Well, I don't know what the official narrative is, because I think the official narrative keeps changing. But I think it's now sufficiently clear to almost everybody in the BJP, including those who went to Advani-ji and pleaded with him, that Mr. Advani is fighting a very, very strange battle. It's a battle to assert his own relevance. In what position, we do not know. But the only position which he seems to want is a position where he wants to have a veto over everything, which is not possible any longer. And yes, it is true that while there is the relationship of a parivar, I think the basic point which which Mr. Advani does not realize is that the karta of the parivar has changed. And he is no longer the karta of the parivar. He's still a very honorable member of the family. But if you decide at every opportunity to try and undermine the person the person who the party has reposed faith in, there comes a time when certain exasperation seeps in. And I think that exasperation was even felt during the last assembly elections, where unfortunately, and this is a very tragic story which has not been told by the BJP, is that Mr. Advani was hardly asked by any of the candidates to campaign for him, because he is carrying diminishing returns not merely within the BJP but also in the wider public. So I don't feel that any of these fissures are going to resonate in the wider world, partly because Mr. Advani does not represent a social force or a political force any longer.
Okay, that's so interesting, because Sudhindra, I will come back to you, because we're sitting here in Uttar Pradesh where Mr. Advani's yatras in the 90s, Atul and Chandrasekhar actually catapulted the BJP first into national attention. This is also Vajpayee's old seat. Many people say LK Advani today is trying to be the new Vajpayee, that he's trying to be a Vajpayee. What does it look like from here? The battle for Uttar Pradesh is critical. Do these fights within the BJP, from the Lucknow perspective, make any difference, you think, to the cadres and the workers here, Atul?
They are definitely going to have some impact as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned.
Why do you say that? Because Swapan says Advani doesn't matter anymore.
it's not just Advani. You also have Lalji Tandon, you have Kalraj Mishra, and you have Murli Manohar Joshi. They're not. Maybe Joshi ji went to Kanpur on his own.
Yeah.
But Lalji Tandon went all the way to Gandhinagar to request Narendra Modi to come and contest from Lucknow. He went to Benaras and Rajnath Singh came to Lucknow instead. That would not have pleased Lalji Tandon
at all.
At all.
So are you saying that in the BJP, even here in UP, there's an old guard resentment building up? But the question is, how much influence does the old guard still have?
They may not have that kind of influence, that they'll damage the party's prospects in a big way. But yes, they are going to harm the party in a small way. So if the party is expecting 50 seats or 40 seats, they may fall short of that target also.
You actually think there will be some electoral impact? Shikhar, in terms of the larger narrative, it is LK Advani obviously at Vajpayee's time had to take a step back. But, Venkaiah Naidu famously said, this is the Loh Purush and the Vikas Purush, the Iron Man and the Development Man. Narendra Modi is trying to be both at once. And Advani, some say, who was the Modi back in the 90s in terms of being seen as the hardliner by some, is today trying to be the Vajpayee. This is something very ironic happening in the BJP.
Correct. Varka, one must consider the fact that, yes, Advani ji has been part of BJP for a very long time, and he was the architect of BJP in UP and in the country. But what is happening of late, his sulking is not damaging the BJP. It is damaging himself. He's damaging himself. And one more point which I wanted to make, though there is a problem in BJP, we can all see that, but no other party is in a position to take advantage of that. So ultimately what will happen, this will affect BJP to some extent, that, cadres may get demoralized.
But you think he's damaging himself?
He's damaging himself.
Why do you think that?
Because, this point in time, he must understand the mood of the nation. Mood of the nation is that, I interact with these students day in, day out, and I can see, that there's a clear wave in terms of, Narendra Modi, if we talk about BJP voters. So that point in time, if we talk about Advani, nobody's bothered. Nobody is actually bothered whether
so you're saying he's isolating himself.
He's isolating himself.
So Sudhindra Kulkarni, let me take this to you. You also say that Mr. Advani is embarrassing himself, but you have also argued in the past that there are other people waiting in the wings. You even mentioned Rajnath Singh, who have prime ministerial ambitions. Do you believe LK Advani is acting on his own, or do you believe there are other leaders with him? And I ask you this because even though you call yourself an outsider today, you have an understanding of the party and some of the power dynamics.
Barkha, I cannot really answer that question except to say that there is some degree of trust deficit at the top in the BJP that is manifesting itself again and again.
You're using the exact same phrase as Abhishek Singhvi.
I agree with.
What
yes,
is
I agree with. I agree with Singhvi ji.
What does it mean?
I agree with Singhvi ji that there is a certain trust deficit at the top level, which manifests itself again and again in some way or the other, and in this particular instance, it has certainly damaged Advaniji's image. This is the time when the BJP ought to be talking about issues that people are interested in, about the new economic orientation if it comes to power, about unemployment, about price rise, about the problems of farmers, the agrarian crisis, etc., etc.
But isn't that what Mr. Modi is trying to do?
What is happening?
Sudhindra, isn't that what Mr. Modi is trying to do? Sudhindra, isn't that what Mr. Modi is trying to do?
No. I think if you see the BJP's campaign so far holistically, it's become too personality oriented, and unfortunately, this recent episode has not projected the BJP in a positive light. And I just want to respond to one thing. If Advaniji is no longer the Karta, and if the Karta becomes the RSS, then the narrative of the BJP's politics, and to some extent even India's politics, will change.
Swapan, do you accept that the RSS is the Karta, if Advaniji is not?
I think on September 13th, the BJP anointed Narendra Modi as the Karta. That was what that decision involved. And as of today, while I certainly see the RSS as a stakeholder, an important stakeholder in the BJP, I do not regard it as the Karta. Of course, you know, unless the situation changes dramatically. As of now, Mr. Modi is the boss.
Last comments from Nirmala and Abhishek, but before that, Rahul Srivastava, we didn't get to talk about what you call the Rajasthan Royals. Briefly, where is Jaswant Singh in all this?
Yes, Baka, it's an interesting tussle going on. While we are discussing Narendra Modi, LK Advani, mentor-protege, there is another mentor-protege trouble happening in Rajasthan. At one time, Bhairav Singh Shekhawat and Jaswant Singh had groomed Vasundhara Raje and helped her in the state. Mr. Jaswant Singh has decided to migrate from Darjeeling. He is planning to contest from Barmer. Vasundhara Raje wants to give it to a gentleman who has migrated from the Congress. He's a Jat, controls a sizable Jat vote in that region. And also BJP insiders feel that if he gets the seat, then likely he may impact 5 more seats around it. There is a tussle going on. Jaswant Singh is saying it's a transparent party. He's saying that he wants to contest as an independent now. One will have to wait and see what will be the outcome. Who will bend, Jaswant Singh or Vasundhara Raje?
All right, last comments, Abhishek Singhvi. The fact is, you heard the journalists and the commentators here. Even if the BJP is a bit embarrassed, it's not like that helps the Congress. The Congress hasn't even been able to decide who to field against Narendra Modi in Benaras. You have this spectacle of Digvijay Singh and Anand Sharma and everybody lining up to offer themselves as potential challengers. Should that be taken seriously?
As far as the second question of yours is concerned, I think you have waited so long, just wait for 24 hours more. Tomorrow is the last date, and I don't think any speculation is required just 24 hours before. All I can say is that the fact that we are taking a little longer means that we are thinking deep and thinking well, and you'll have an appropriate response to the candidature from that place. But as far as the first part is concerned, I started the program by talking of the trust deficit and of a party with differences dissolving into a party with differences, or a party of differences. Now, with that, you must add a third thing. I think for those who've been talking since 2004 of a 10 Janpath remote control, the third thing which all this shows is the real clear remote control.
But hasn't the remote control shifted to Tughlaq Lane now and not 10 Janpath? By the way, this is all very minute for people who don't live in Delhi, but has it moved from
the real remote control of Indian politics, Barkha. The real remote control.
Barkha, let me come in 1 minute.
1 minute, Barkha. The real remote control of Indian politics. The real remote control of Indian politics is in Nagpur and in Jhandewalan, and that is a matter of concern for parties after the elections, if the BJP has any power, before the elections when they deny all this, because that is power without accountability. That is real institutional power without accountability.
Singhvi,
and that's the principle which
may I just ask Mr. Singhvi to make up his mind.
A good relationship between Sonia Gandhi and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh.
I think Swapan's trying to say something
I just want Manu Singhvi to make up his mind. Is the BJP being remote controlled from Nagpur, or is it being bludgeoned by the person he calls the dictator from Gandhinagar? I mean, make up your mind. It can't be both at the same time.
That's a good question, Abhishek. That's a good question,
Why
Abhishek.
can't it be both, Swapan? It's not that simplistic. Why can't it be?
No, I know. I know everyone is not as ambidextrous as you are.
1 second, let me answer. Please let me answer. Now, don't interrupt me. Please let me hear the answer. You've asked a question. Have the patience. Let me formulate it for you, Barkha. The dictator from Gujarat has created a huge trust deficit, which requires constant remote control from Jhandewalan and Nagpur. Now, if that Swapan Dasgupta will understand, then he can only claim to be a real insider, not an outsider.
I'll allow Nirmala the last word as we end. Nirmala.
Barkha, it's surprising that when all this attention is being given to us, while in a way I think BJP is quite happy to have this kind of an attention being paid by the media, I would want for a minute the Congress party to tell us why is it that they have not announced a prime ministerial candidate? Why are they hesitant to announce one? Second, why is it that many senior leaders are looking for alibis not to contest? And why is it that some of them, having got the tickets, have given back the tickets and said, no, sorry, we are not even wanting to be in the party, we would move out of the party. Whoever they join is a different issue altogether. Why is it that within the Congress party till date, they are unclear on what is the message they want to pass for the election? What is it that they claim as their 10-year achievement? Why is it that they're not talking on corruption, in which not a single congressman has even been questioned? So, if with so many things left unattended, I think the media and the Congress party will help the nation to decide better if only some time, air time, optimal TRP time is spent on these issues and leave us to take care of our, developmental agenda for some time at least.
Okay, thank you, Nirmala Sitharaman, Abhishek Singhvi, Sudhindra Kulkarni, Swapan Das Gupta. I am actually going to give the last words to my guests here in Lucknow because we don't get to hear from voices outside Delhi enough. So you get the last word. Shekhar, to you first. You said among BJP supporters there is a Modi wave. Where does that leave the Congress? Especially here in
if you want me to sum it up in one word, I would say nowhere.
Nowhere. It leaves the Congress nowhere.
With Congress is nowhere.
Okay.
In fact, AAP is better placed than Congress
in Uttar Pradesh?
in terms of the mood of the voters. It may not
translate into seats
or
votes.
Right?
Yeah.
Can I recite few lines which I have written and it may reflect the election scenario in UP?
Yes.
परिंदों की परवाजों को रोकिए मत, बातों की गुलेल से इन्हें टोकिए मत, सफर में कई और बुत मिलेंगे, सारी इबादत एक दर पे झोंकिए मत, खंजर बेचने वाले की रोजी भी चले, खंजर बेचने वाले की रोजी भी चले, एहतियातन खरीद लीजिए, भोंकिए मत. And this may reflect the vote of the mood of the voters. क्यों मेरी आवाज सुन के सनसनी हुई, क्यों मेरी आवाज सुन के सनसनी हुई, गूंगा नहीं हूं मैं, चौंकिए मत.
Atal.
I feel, I feel that BJP is
on the upswing.
On the upswing, there's no doubt about it. I also agree with Shekhar that Congress is nowhere in the picture. But unlike AAP, I would say that if BJP has to be wary of any party, it is the Bahujan Samaj Party.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. We are at the Ambedkar Memorial Park, of course, talking about the Bahujan Samaj Party for another show, another time. We leave you tonight with our ground report on where the Muslim vote will go in Benaras. Remember, there's been the long Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb in the region, but is there a politics of polarization that could change that? It's a city where for years the strains of Ustad Bismillah Khan's Shehnai have been the perfect companion to the sacred shlokas at the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Where the Bismillah of Benaras, as he was called, otherwise a devout Shia Muslim, famously said that he worshipped both Allah and Saraswati. A city where the artisans who weave the magnificent Banarsi sari are mostly Muslim, but the traders and retailers are mostly Hindu. A city that has been built on the power of faith, but also kept alive by the history of economic and cultural interdependencies across religions. Today, as Benaras becomes the epicenter of the 2014 campaign, the question is, will there be tremors when politics and culture collide? When Narendra Modi in Benaras and Mulayam Singh Yadav just 100 kilometers away in Azamgarh, will there be a polarization, a consolidation of the Hindu vote for the BJP and a fragmentation of the Muslim vote among the non-BJP options? In this predominantly Muslim weavers' colony of Shakar Talab, there is concern that elections can tug at loose threads in the social fabric.
हिंदू मुस्लिम एक परिवार हम लोग का है और हम लोग हमेशा परिवार में जुड़कर ही रहते थे, क्योंकि हमारा ताना बाना लेन देन यहाँ तक कि खाने पीने की चीजों को लेकर भी हम उनसे खरीदते थे, हम अपने घर में लाते थे, खाते थे, बेचने वाले वो, खरीदने वाले हम. उसके बाद हमारे ताने बाने पर आ जाइए, हमारा रेशम वो बेचते थे, हम उनसे हम लाते थे. यहाँ तक कि ये धंधा, ये बनारस की संस्कृति, ये हमारा जुड़ाव लोहार से लेकर कोहार तक इस धंधे में हमेशा से जुड़ा रहा. उसका उदाहरण है
तो आज क्या हालात है?
आज हालात बदले हुए हैं।
किस तरह से?
हालात जैसे बदल रहे हैं, बराबर बदल रहे हैं जैसे मोदी के आ जाने से जो इस वक्त हालात पैदा हुए हैं, जो हालात जो खिंचाव पैदा हुआ है, हमारा तुम्हारा होने लगा।
For this neighborhood of craftspeople, the advent of big textile corporations and Chinese power looms have created a serious economic crisis. But even though at his rally in Varanasi, Modi did speak specifically of the weaver community, even calling the Banarsi sari a symbol of economic growth, people here remain wary of him.
अकेले बनारस की साड़ी के नाम पर लाखों नौजवानों को रोजगार मिलता, उनको जाने की नौबत नहीं आती।
Disappointed with the Samajwadi Party after the Muzaffarnagar riots, they see their political alternatives as weak or contentious, like the notorious Mukhtar Ansari, inside jail on charges of murder, who may yet emerge as the only Muslim candidate in Benaras. Most people tell us they want a single united candidate to be fielded against Narendra Modi.
अरविंद केजरीवाल भी अच्छा आदमी है, उसको भी जीतने की बहुत अच्छी उम्मीद है। वैसे वो आ जाते हैं तो बहुत अच्छा मुकाबला करेंगे मोदी जी से।
आपको लगता है कोई चांस है उनका?
बहुत चांस।
But across the city, in the more upscale cantonment area, a prominent Muslim businessman, Ehsan Khan, who owns an auto showroom, has a very different perspective. He says the Muslim voter can no longer be stereotyped in the debate around either Modi or Mulayam.
You don't accept that the Muslim voter still looks at Modi with apprehension here?
I would think so, no. But again, as I said earlier, we have gone beyond that. It is, okay, we have, whatever is passed, I can't get rid of it, neither can you explain it out, or he can do it. So we have to start somewhere, and this is a good starting point. What is he going to do for us? He should promise that. He has to spell it out. And as an MP, he has to spell it out for me, as I'm a voter, that, what will he bring for Benaras? Will he bring peace?
Muslims make up 15% of the electorate here, a critical number. Local scholars say Muslim voters may be ready to break with the past. People are more anxious, they say, about whether Modi will leave Benaras for Gujarat if he wins.
जो नया मुसलमान तबका है वो पार्टीशन का जो दंश था उसको वो भूल चुका है, वो उसके आगे बढ़ना चाहता है। तो जो हमारा मर्म है चुनाव का और प्रजातंत्र का, अगर उसी मर्म पे चोट करें तो मैं तो इस वजह से मेरी चिंता सबसे ज्यादा है, जो मैं सबसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि ये मोदी बनारस में तो रहेंगे नहीं और ये जीतेंगे दोनों जगह से, और अगर कहीं सत्ता में आ गए तो बनारस छोड़ के और उसको भूल भाल करके चले जाएंगे।
As the sun sets, it's time for the evening aarti at the ghats. At the Asi Someshwar Mandir, people flood in to pray or just to experience a moment of serenity.
In Benaras, where Ustad Bismillah Khan has famously played his Shehnai at the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir, where the famous Banarsi sari is actually woven by Muslims but retailed by Hindu traders, the Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb has been alive forever. People here say that religion is not the issue, the state of roads is. But the big question in election time remains, will there be a politics of polarization that still defined the election campaign in Uttar Pradesh?
The final word belongs to the artists and musicians of Benaras, who say music unites even if politics can sometimes divide.
बिस्मिल्लाह खान की जो को कहा जाता था बिस्मिल्लाह ऑफ बनारस, और इसी एक डिस्क्रिप्शन में पूरा जो इंडिया के एक प्लूरलिज्म है कि भाई कितने धर्म एक साथ रह सकते हैं, तो आप तो उनके बेटे हैं, उन्होंने क्या आपको सिखाया गंगा जमुना तहसीब के बारे में?
यही सिखाया उन्होंने कि देखो कुछ भी करना जैसा भी माहौल है, लेकिन कभी ऐसा कोई भी माहौल बने तो उसको खूबसूरती से ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करना, और जो लोग ऐसा करें तो उनको समझाना कि देखो भैया, तुम लाख लड़ाई झगड़ा करो, 2 राग सीख लो, 200 ताल सीख लो, सारा लड़ाई झगड़ा खत्म हो जाएगा।
We are lucky to hear Ustad Bismillah Khan's sons, accomplished artists in their own right, perform their devotional song of choice, Holi Khele Nandlala. Politics and polarization for this brief moment are very far away. In Varanasi with Manoj Thakur, Manu Nair, Ruby Dhingra, Numan Siddiqui and Prafulla Mishra, Barkha Dutt for NDTV.